We often hear people talking about Christian love. Christian love. How can love be Christian? What about Jewish love or Muslim love, to mention just a few? Don't you see how religion is divisive and sure source of discrimination? Love is one. Love is one. Love is what made Steven and Tiwonge risk their life by celebrating their union. Love should have no religious connotation, no race, no borders, no judges, no prison. We are here to defend the right to love. The right to love, as Michael Nastari has called this worldwide protest, a fundamental human right. We shall really overcome homophobia and transphobia, but also xenophobia, only if we finally look at our brothers and our sisters and recognize ourselves in them, regardless of the differences. Not Christians, or Muslims, or Jews and so on, not black or white, not straight or gay, not men or women or transsexual, but human beings. Human beings, for goodness sake.
Oh, yeah.
We cannot and we will not tolerate that Steven and Tiwonge are kept in prison for just loving each other. And we are not stopping here today. This is just the beginning.
This is the beginning.
Until they are free again.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much for listening. I would like to conclude just asking you all to put your hands together for our brave hero Peter Thatcher, who is right now in Russia to support the activists that tried once again to hold the gay pride in Moscow. Also this year the pride has been banned and the protesters were likely to be beaten again and arrested again as in the past. Peter has already suffered brain injuries for his brave actions, and we are close to him and to the gay activists in Moscow, risking their lives today. Let's put our hands together for Peter Thatcher, for his courage, and for the fight for universal right to love. Thank you.
Hold on. Thank you. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that nice? Put your hands together for our brother.
And he has asked for as much pressure as possible to be put on the Malawian government to release Steven and Tiwonge immediately.
Yeah! Thank you.
I know this is a really obvious question. Why are you here today?
Well, I suppose humanists believe that everyone should be able to flourish in the one life that we think there probably is.
Yeah.
And humanists have often been on the forefront of sort of every human rights sort of campaigns.
Yeah.
So I suppose I'm here as someone who believes that everyone should be able to flourish, and also that love.
So I represent an organisation which in actual fact is one of the oldest LGBT campaigning organisations in this country, irrespective of the church dimension. Richard Kirker, who was our previous General Secretary, I mean, the name probably means nothing to you, but you know, 20, 30 years ago he would be one of the few people constantly on television on these issues. Another Christian group, the Quakers, were the ones to actually push through the legislation in 1967 to stop homosexuality being a criminal offence. I fully understand where you're coming from as a humanist. Do you feel there is anything in addition to what you're doing, by virtue of the fact that we're a Christian group, that maybe we can do that you can't do to help change these situations?
Yeah, I mean, I think in Africa, obviously quite a lot of the countries there are very religious, so I think that you almost have a tougher time as someone who's non-religious trying to convince those countries' population that you should also be for gay rights. So I think you have an advantage in that you already have the community groups that are around the local church. So you already have that sort of reach into it. And you know, it's not my mission to try and stop people being religious.
No, I understand.
We would much prefer that, you know, people kept their religion private, but it's much more importantly in those countries that homophobia is ruled out. We would never want religion to be ruled out. We just want it not to interfere with people's rights.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fine. So can I just have your name again? So I wasn't sure I was recording that.
That's okay. It's Alice Fuller.
And the organisation again is the
Central London Humanist Group.
Central London.
Conversations centre around almost a right not to be offended.
Okay.
And I don't think there's a right not to be offended. So I think that, I mean, I'm very pro-free speech. So I think there's a difference between a religious group having the right to worship and to manifest their religion. I mean, that's in the Declaration of Human Rights. And absolutely think that people should be able to be religious. But then there's the other thing, which I think is often described as a right, which is someone's right not to hear things that they believe being, damaged. So people saying that the Pope shouldn't be allowed to come, and I think a lot of the time there's a confusion around someone's right not to be offended, and I think absolutely you should be able to manifest your religion, but I don't think anyone has the right not to hear that someone else thinks their religion is nonsense, just as I don't have the right for someone to say, not to say, you're going to hell, So I think that's where it lies a lot of the time.
In actual fact, Peter Tatchell wrote in our last edition of the magazine for the Lesbian Gay Christian Movement, he wrote an article about the fact that he's been defending in principle a number of street preachers, speaking against homosexuality, because again, and I agree with him there, that we also don't have the right not to be offended. And it is difficult to know where to draw the line sometimes, isn't it? I think it is quite difficult. But I think there have been some extreme examples where the police have stopped, middle-aged Christian couples giving out leaflets at gay pride rallies and all the rest of it. And you end up wondering where free speech is going,
As you say, it's that line, isn't it, between inciting hatred, which is obviously illegal in this country, and then actually just expressing your view. And I think and you get this argument in lots of different areas. So in racism, where does the BNP's right to manifest their beliefs? Where's the line between that and them actually inciting racial hatred? I think that's like a classical problem or distinction within any sort of freedom of expression.
Listen, I know this is completely going off the topic, but this week that judge has defended that BNP teacher for his right to continue as a teacher and a member of BNP, and that even though he used computer in school time to portray his views, he's still been let off the hook. I find it hard that a judge has said that a BNP teacher can continue teaching as an openly proud member of the BNP. How do you feel about that?
Well, again, people have the right to associate with any sort of political party that they want, but it's difficult, isn't it? Because if you're teaching a wide range of students, your beliefs about those students possibly could come through if you were, essentially I think you're probably racist or confused if you're a member of the BNP. And I don't know, I don't really know what I think about it. I don't know enough about the case. So I suppose it's one of those things that were he standing at the front of the classroom saying, black people aren't as good as white people, or something like that, then obviously that's grounds for dismissal, regardless of whether you're a member of the BNP. But privately associating yourself with a political party, I don't know, it's difficult, isn't it? I suppose the difference is that, it's wrong to be a racist, whereas obviously it's not wrong to be gay, and so you'd think that it would be quite clear that you can be dismissed for that.
I've got soaking cold weather.
What's it say? Does a pardon mean just release?
It was with Wadsworth.
That's fantastic.
Is it definitely, or I'm a bit nervous?
Obviously due to our protest, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You've seen on Sky Sports News?
Yeah, it's on.